Hello, my name is Bob, and I'm the developer of Chartsmart, and I'm going to give you a video on one of the more powerful features. It's July of 2019, and we're working on a lot of upgrades to Chartsmart with regard to custom formulas and backtesting. Chartsmart's well known. It's been around 25 years. This is a chart, but the main feature is the screening, and Chartsmart covers the US and Canadian markets. So what I'm going to do is go to the filter menu, and in the filter menu this is where you create sets, and I've got an empty area, and if I go to the different groups you can actually see, if you look in the upper left as I click these are various samples of sets. For example, New York's securities trading over 100,000 shares a day. Now there's a bunch of them in here, and this is where the custom ones are, and you can see that there's some already in here, but what I'm going to do is go to number 10 where there aren't any, and I'm going to show you how the custom formulas work. So I'm going to add a new filter set and just say sample custom formula. Okay, so first of all I'm going to run a simple set, or sorry, I'm going to take some criteria. I'm just going to show you the concept of how it works. Okay, so we'll just choose, say, New York and NASDAQ, and we'll choose stocks that are over $100 a share. Okay, something very simple. Okay, now we'll run this, and we're going through 12,500 securities. We get 604. I want to note for you that these exclude ETFs, because there's a feature in here that allows you to either include them or not. And over here I've got it so that they are, if this is checked, they are excluded. So I actually did not have that checked, so the 600 did include ETFs. I'm going to run it again, and I think there were 600 or so. Let's see what we get now. So there's only 430. So what we've got is 430 companies out of 12,000 that are over $100 on NASDAQ in New York. We can simply go to the group and begin scrolling, and then you can scroll through all these charts. Okay, there's Apple and some of the bigger companies, and that's basically how Chartsmart works. But what I want to show you now is how you can go into more detailed screens. Now there are ways to screen an exchange and sectors and type of security, the price ranges, volume screens, technical indicator screens, and so on. And each of these screens is made of variables. For example, if you were to look at, in the technical, you could look at an engulfing candlestick, and if I were to add that to this, you can see that there are variables enclosed in these number signs. This is the closing price, this is the open. So this candlestick means that the close has to be greater than the open, and the open 1 day ago has to be higher than the close 1 day ago, and so on. So I'm going to take that one out, and I just wanted to show you the concept of formulas. So custom formulas are done in the use specify area. So I might as well use this example. I'm just going to take New York and NASDAQ, and if we go to use specify, you can see there's some samples here. Now I'm going to show you what they look like, these samples here. So if I click on this, there's already one where there's a custom formula saying the current assets have to be greater than the current or than the total liabilities. And if I were to run this, okay, and it's put it over here, you remember there were, I don't know how many, about, there'd be about 1,000, but I've run this, and what I want to show you is there's 1,425 companies. I'm going to go back to the charts and look at just one of them, and I'm going to look at the current assets. There's the total liabilities right here, 165. If I go to the info button, if we can find the current assets on here, we can, there's another way to do it. We could go into the fundamentals and look at it here, where the current assets, 203 million. So you can see that 203 is greater than the total liabilities. So we've run a custom screen to specify our own construct of the variables. So I'm going back in here, and we could go on and we could look at some of the other samples that have been done, like this is the cash, I believe, minus the total liabilities divided by the issued cap. So this means there's a certain amount of cash per share, and the formula's been created for this, and you can customize your own formulas. So the big question you're going to have is, well, what are the variables I can use to customize? And what you find here is variables used in our sample formulas, variables available based on your filter files. So these are variables, and V1 means the volume 1 day ago, V2 is the volume 2 days ago, this is the number of shares traded, there's the moving average values. For example, you could say I want this value to be higher than this value if you constructed a formula. And there's a lot of variables in here, a lot of technical indicators, so you can actually create the direction of how you want the your custom variables or your indicators. You can actually set the trend of your indicators, and I'll show you a little bit about that in a minute. And that's under this example, increasing your IRSI. Now, just to go further into this, I'm going to tell you that in normal software, you could say, for example, I want the RSI, the relative strength index, to be over, say, 70. And that's relatively easy, right? Okay, let's just go ahead, and I'm just going to avoid this, because I'm adding another dimension to this. Not only can you do custom formulas, but you can do custom formulas not just for today, but for all the days previous. You can run a screen 10 days ago or 20 days ago, even though you might normally just do it today. For example, in this example, we could have just used the simple example under tech and gone to RSI. Let's see, RSI is, let's find the RSI. The 14-day RSI is over 70, let's say. Okay, so we're going to run screens for that on New York and NASDAQ. Probably get quite a few because the market's strong. I'm going to look at some of the charts. We're going to look at a daily chart. Okay, so this is the RSI index on the bottom, and you can see how it's over 75. If I right click, it actually gives me the value, or it's over 70, and it's 70 right there. Okay, I'm going to go through a couple more, and you just keep looking down here on the right, and you'll see how the RSI is always over 70. Okay, and that's the screen we ran. Okay, whether that means anything is another story. That's where we get into back testing. That's in here, and I'll be doing some videos on that later. Okay, so I just want to go into a little more detail here on the way you can customize your own formulas. Okay, so this isn't really to show you how to do it. This is to show you what can be done. Okay, so let's take this one out that we had, which was just for today, and I want to go back to the special that you specify. Go back to this increasing RSI, and you'll notice how you'll see in here, there's the RSI 14, RSI 14, and RSI 14. So that's what we basically said. We said it was over 70, but you'll notice something different in these. There's two of them that have a number in front. Okay, this one is like what we did before. It's basically saying the RSI is over 50. Okay, now what we could do is change this, and what we're going to do is say we want the RSI over 70 today, like the other one, but also 5 days ago, let's say 4 days ago, we want the RSI to be less than 40, and 8 days ago we want the RSI to be under 30. So you're going to get a rapid increase. Let's change this one to 50. In a very short period, over 8 days, you're going to see we're actually setting the trend of the RSI. Now it says we need to backtest some file or download some files, and it'll tell us here, so we can download these. And they're pretty big files. These can be downloaded every day, and Chartsmart will be able to download the backtest files that you need specifically, and then it unzips them, and then it'll tell you that you have them for the formula or for the backtesting, whatever you need. So this means we've got this. Okay, so I'm going to run this and then come back to here to just show you what the variables are. So I want to run this, and you can see it taking a little longer than usual. There's only one. Okay, and let's take a look at it. And it's probably not the best example, but you can see the RSI was very low and it went up rapidly. What I could have done is let's just loosen the criteria up a bit here. Let's change it and say it was 60 and then 50. Okay, so we've changed it a bit. We've got those files, so we can just rerun this. And I'm also going to say that the activity, I'm going to get rid of any thin trading stocks, is going to be over 95% of the last 30 days it will have traded. Okay, so there we go, we get a few there, and let's go ahead and look at them. So you can see how the RSI jumped here in the last 8 days. Okay, and we'll go through and just watch that area, because that's what we were trying to screen for. You see how it jumped, and there again, and it meets the parameters. Now that's because we're using these backtest files, and what I'm going to do is show you what they look like. I'm going to go into my hard drive here, and I'm going to take a look at one, and as you can see, it's like a big spreadsheet. Down the left you can see here's the date, July 4th, and there's, for example, A on New York, and if I go down, all 12,000 symbols are there. And this is like a spreadsheet that you screen on, and normally software only has this for the current day. So I could say, okay, well, I want all the stocks where the close is over, say, $1, and it would figure them out, right? But we can go on, and we also have the pre-done screens for a lot of indicators, so we know what the 14-day RSI was on the 4th of July or on the 3rd of July. But what's neat in Chartsmart is we keep these every day, and that's what a backtest file is. And that means that you can run custom formulas for previous days going back hundreds of days, or you can backtest your filter sets, which is a whole other section we're looking at. So that's what I wanted to basically show you in this video. I'm just going to go back though, and I'm going to do one more to show you how custom formulas work. And we've got this one called RSI, but what we're going to do is just change it. So I can go into some samples. So let's click here and go to our web page. Okay, and here are some examples, and this is basically the one we used, but let's try a MACD crossover after a long time there when there hasn't been one. So we're actually customizing it. So this is getting quite detailed, but I'm going to take this example. Hello, this video is on one of the indicators. Sorry, I've actually called up the video for this, but we don't need to do that. So what I'm going to do is paste this in. Okay, and it says we need a bunch of backtest files. I can do that, I guess, for this formula. We can do like we did before. Let's go ahead and do it. I don't want this video to be too long, but what I'm doing is another example, and what we're looking at is MACD crossovers. And we're specifying that the MACD crossover hasn't had a crossover, hasn't gone positive for maybe 5 or 10 days. So there's our files, we've got them, and even though the name is RSI, I'm just going to close this and rename. I'm going to take this and leave this as RSI, even though we've got a different formula. And what I'm going to do is run this. Okay, so we're looking at 12 to 25 day MACD crossovers. these are no longer RSI because we've got a different formula in there. So we got 34. Okay, so what we need to do is look at this chart, and we actually do have the MACD on, which is good. So I can go begin scrolling, and what you're going to see is we do have, you see this is the MACD crossing over the signal line and the 9-day average, and they're crossing over here. And we're going to go through and just keep an eye down here on the right, and you'll see this. And what we've done with this screen is we've specified that it can't have crossed over for a while. So and like you see how there's a fairly big gap here and here too, and so they're all crossing over, but they're not just crossovers, they're special crossovers, and you could customize, for example, how much of this red area you want to be down and how long you want it to be down. So my point with the custom formulas is you can do all kinds of technical indicator custom screens, and you can actually customize the trend of the indicators, whether they're MACD, RSI, stochastics, candlesticks, and so on. And this is just a preliminary video to show you roughly how custom formulas work. I'll be doing some more and posting them, and I hope this has been helpful. Thank you.